Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am excited to share all of the books that I read in January. It was a solid month in terms of how many books I read, but I wouldn't say it was like a really great reading month, like in terms of star rating. So that's a letdown. I'm hoping that February can make things better for me. January was a really exciting month at the same time though, because it kicked off my reading challenge for the year, so that was fun. I did successfully read the book for the January prompt, so I'm happy. And then I also started out the month doing the Read in the New Year readathon. So a lot of you participated and I'm so thankful for it. It was just such a fun week to do that. So I did read books for that. So how I'm going to order this video is I'm going to talk about the fiction books that I read, and then the manga, and then the nonfiction. So the first fiction book that I completed in January was The Off Limits Rule by Sarah Adams. I read this as an ebook and it was good. I gave it 3 stars. It definitely was very cheesy, but it was funny. I just wasn't a huge fan of the main girl character. Anyways, so it's basically the story of there's this brother and sister, and the brother has a super hot friend, and he's like, you're not allowed to be together. It's a no. So then they kind of like strike up a friendship because it's supposed to be like off limits. So it's like safe. They can just be friends. But then of course they both catch feelings, and I don't know. It was fine. Would love to read the second book though, because it's about the brother, but I just don't have access to it. So we shall see sometime. But it was completely clean. There was barely any kissing, but there was like a lot of talk about attractive bodies, so whatever about that. I don't remember if there was language, but it was definitely clean. Okay, next I DNF'd Sorcerer. This is in my Read in the New Year reading blog, so I kind of explain why, but basically it was just boring, which is too bad because it's about something really interesting. Like, it's kind of biblical speculative fiction because you follow this family who moves into this new house in this new town, and in the basement of the house the dad finds like a skeleton chained to the wall, and then he like unshackles the skeleton and then it disappears, and he's like, what? And then there's like flashes to the Bible times when Moses is doing all the plagues on Egypt, and Pharaoh has his sorcerers that are trying to copy the plagues. So one of those sorcerers is the skeleton, and that sounds like so cool, but it just turned really boring. Like, they were just like kind of preparing for battle, and there was a lot of like, I don't know. It wasn't as like spiritually speculative as I was hoping for, if that makes any sense. Next fiction book I read is Where the Blue Sky Begins by Powner. This was sent to me for free for review, so thank you to the publisher. And I enjoyed it. It just didn't have enough romance in it for me to really like it. It had so much potential to be really good if there was a romance story throughout it, for me, you know? But so I guess this isn't romance heavy at all. So if that sounds appealing to you, you might like this book because it was very deep, very thoughtful, and just, I really came to love the characters. So you follow this young man who is like moving to this small town for the summer to run his uncle's financial firm that he has there. And he's like a super kind of preppy city boy. So he's like not loving it, but he's doing it for his uncle. And at the very beginning, he kind of runs this lady on a scooter off the road, and he just keeps going. He sees her get up and she's fine, but he did run her off the road. And then when he gets home, her house is beside his. So they're neighbors, and she basically blackmails him into like being her ride because her scooter was broken. And she's like, you have to drive me around everywhere, or I'm going to tell the police what you did. And so he agrees, and they start forming a relationship, which was really sweet. It was such a nice friendship because this lady is like in her 40s and she has a terminal illness. So you do learn about that. So there is kind of like, you know, the slow death of a character in this book, which was really sad. And like, she has to carry around a urine bag, which was like, there was like some descriptions of like how difficult that is. So that was sad. But I really liked the characters, and it was an interesting story. Basically, she had this list of people that she wanted to apologize to before she goes. There was faith in it. Like, she's a Christian. She prayed to God But I just would have loved to see a romance for the guy, because I definitely had a crush on him. He sounded so just like my kind of guy. I mean, definitely didn't know how to like rough it and was like a little bit stuck up, but like his character growth in that way was like so satisfying, so I loved it. Ultimately, I would recommend this if romance isn't really your thing, and I love the cover, so for sure holding on to this. Okay, and then for my reading challenge, I read My Foolish Heart by Susan May Warren, and I just love this book. This is one of my favorite books of all time. I just connect to these characters so deeply. It's such a good romance, but such a good faith story, and I've shared about this book quite a bit. It is in my favorite Christian romance of all time video. I put that out this month, and that was really exciting. I hope that you guys got good recommendations. But yeah, this one, it follows a girl who has agoraphobia and like super bad anxiety and PTSD, and then you follow her neighbor who has a prosthetic leg, and he's trying to be the new football coach. So you follow both of them kind of forming a friendship. She also runs a radio show about dating, for dating advice, and it's quite funny. He ends up calling into it, so they're like talking on air and they don't realize it's each other. You also do get another side romance with her best friend and a new guy that comes to town, so that was really interesting too. I loved it. Okay, and then I read The Cairo Curse by Pepper Basham. This was really exciting. I was able to get an early copy, so thank you so much, Pepper Basham, for allowing me to get an early copy. It does release February 1st, so that was yesterday. You can get it now. This is the sequel to The Mistletoe Countess, and I have said this multiple times now, but I would definitely urge you to read The Mistletoe Countess first. Because there's no build up to these characters. You're just thrown in. You're barely given any backstory to the relationship that was established in The Mistletoe Countess. So you definitely need to read that one first, or you'll be a little bit confused of who's who. Because even I was a little confused, because basically you follow Grace and Frederick and their butler, whatever he is, assistant man guy. They're going to Egypt to do a little visit. He has like a cousin there or something, and you meet the cousin, you meet the sister, you meet husbands, wives, people in this like kind of villa mansion house place in Egypt. They're all staying there, and I definitely struggled to keep everyone straight. Okay, and then people start dying, and they're like, what is going on? And then they're also trying to locate treasure. They're doing like tomb hunting for treasure, and it's all about that. So the romance is very little. It's really about the mystery and getting to know these characters and kind of figuring out who done it. So that wasn't my favorite thing. I definitely liked The Mistletoe Countess better, but I think a lot of people are gonna like this book because it's right up the like cozy mystery alley. So if you like cozy mysteries, I'm sure you'll really like this. It was clean. It was good. It was really fun, but just a mystery story just isn't as interesting to me. So, okay, and then I read You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hogle, and I really enjoyed this book, but there was like a lot of language in it, so that was too bad. And then there was one bedroom scene. Okay, and I picked up this book. I shared this in my TBR, so hey, I already read it, and I don't know what video I saw it on. I've been like Googling clean romance that isn't necessarily Christian and just trying to gather all of the recommendations that I can find. And I've saved a bunch of YouTubers like more clean whatever romances, and there's not that many videos out there. This one must have been on someone's list for it being like light romance, which, okay, like not really, to be honest. So it was like so funny though. Okay, here we go. So it's about this couple who's engaged and they're living together, and secretly they're both not into it. They're like, I don't like you anymore. Like, what is our relationship? Why are we getting married? But the mom of the dude is like super controlling and very involved and basically plans the whole wedding for them. And she's like spending money and all of that. So neither of them feels like they can call it off, because the mom would be like, well, who's going to pay for it then? Because I'm not. And so they both want each other to call it off. So they start like sabotaging each other, just like trying to annoy each other so much so that one of them breaks up with the other one. So it was so funny. It was so funny. I really enjoyed the characters. Like, I have seen a couple of reviews where the girl character people didn't like very much because she was kind of like whiny and annoying, but I didn't find her annoying. I found her really funny. Probably because I don't really read books like this super often, you know, secular romance basically. So there was language. It wasn't too bad, but when it was there, it was like the F word sometimes. So that was too bad. But I will say it was during really funny moments. So I was like able to overlook it because I was already laughing. Okay, it's just my, you know, whatever. But there was a bedroom scene like closer to the end because there was nothing, like they barely even touched each other. Like they were not into each other. And then when they start to rekindle the love, which was so sweet to read about, honestly, they do find themselves in the bedroom, and I had to like skip a couple pages because I was like, uh-oh, the radar is ringing. Okay. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend it, to be honest, but it was honestly a really nice palate cleanser because I've been like trying to find books to read that I like really want to, and this one was funny. I read it in like 2 days. It was such a quick read, and it is what it is. So there you go. Okay, on to the manga, which is all Spy Family. I read up to volume 4 of Spy Family in January, and I'm enjoying it, but I will say, like, I'm in the middle of volume 5, and I'm like not that interested anymore. So I'm just chilling. Like, I'm leaving it where it is, and I'll come back to it sometime, but there's some times where it feels kind of slow for some reason. Like, I don't know. I want to see more family dynamics. That's my favorite part. I don't care about the mission. I don't care about politics. I just want to see their family dynamics. And there have been a couple times where it's more like mission focused. And there's funny moments for sure, but whatever. But I do have quite a few other mangas on my tablet to read. So I will try some other ones probably and then let you know. Okay, on to nonfiction. So the first nonfiction that I read was Don't Give the Enemy a Seat at Your Table by Louie Giglio. This book I ended up really liking. It surprised me. I did listen to the audiobook a little bit, and I really liked the way he was speaking. It just like, it was easy to listen to. And there was some passages in here that just really spoke to me, and I thought it would be surface level, but it didn't feel surface level. I actually remember, I think chapter 5 was when I was like, oh, this is good. So, you know, just kind of catching when you start spiraling with thoughts of like, nothing's ever going to change. Oh, I'm like this. Oh, you know, just kind of having mental freakouts. And he encouraged us to really root ourselves in the word, the truth of the word. We are not victims to the enemy anymore. Like, Jesus defeated him, and we don't have to give him a seat at our table, like in our mind and in our heart. And I just like really connected to that. So yeah, I liked this book. I would definitely recommend it. Then I read God Speaks Your Love Language by Gary Chapman. This was a gift from a friend and I wanted to read it. And then I did also get the audiobook for it. It definitely required some thoughtfulness, and it actually made me wonder if I know what my love language is anymore, because I've always said it's acts of service and gifts. But I definitely think that words of affirmation is higher than I realized, because when he was talking about words of affirmation in particular and how God affirms us, I was like, oh yeah, I really see that. I really see how, like, when I feel God speak to me, it does wonders in my heart, and it gives me so much hope. So maybe like with God, one of my love languages is words of affirmation, higher up than like with other people. But then I've been thinking like, okay, maybe it is actually words of affirmation is like higher. I think it might be acts of service and words of affirmation are my top 2 now. Interesting. So yeah, it was a good book for that. It made me think. It gave a lot of good examples, a lot of real life examples, and I liked it. Okay, then I did try to read Anatomy of the Soul forget the author, but this was another audiobook that I tried, but it was just so sciencey. I was like, this is not what I signed up for. No, thank you. I was hoping it was a little bit more grounded and like emotional than it was. It felt very like, I don't know, you know what I mean? So I didn't finish it, and that's okay. Okay, but probably the favorite of the month. I started this in December, and this is a 40-day devotional. So like each devotional is a couple pages. There is a passage from Redeeming Love, the book, at the beginning of every devotional, and then it kind of like leads into the theme of what the devotional is about. I loved this book. Like the amount of times, like there's just something about this story that God can just speak to me in any situation that I'm in. Every time. It's amazing. I highly recommend this book. It was so special and so easy to read. I just ate it up. It was really, really good. So Bailey, thank you so much for recommending this. I've been just really encouraged by this book. So yeah, it reminded me why I love devotionals and I love Christian nonfiction. It's just so encouraging to my faith. So yeah, I loved this, and this is probably the favorite from the month. Okay, that is the wrap up, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I will write all of the books down below. Have a good rest of your week, you guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye! So the first fiction book that I read in 2023 is... So, have a good rest of your week. But maybe I'm just crazy. I don't know. And yes, I have a couple of friends. You know. Like right here it looks blurry. It's like, and then not blurry. I am kind of reading manga now, so yeah.